want to welcome everybody to Nashville, Vanderbilt University, and the Institute for National Security. It's fantastic to have all of you here. My name is Charlie Tunamore, and I'm very honored to be a distinguished visiting professor and founding member of Vanderbilt Institute of National Security. And I'm even more excited to be the moderator for today's summit events. Now, if you take a look at our program, for the next 2 days, you will see that we have some of the most renowned leaders, experts from academia, industry, the Department of Defense, as well as other governmental organizations, and our allies to discuss and explore how we will all work together in a truly collaborative manner to deal with some of the most critical security challenges we have ever faced. This year, we're going to focus our efforts on artificial intelligence and the impact it is and it will have on our national security. In short, what are the challenges and what are the opportunities? Now, the fantastic engagements we are going to have over the next 2 days will be against the backdrop of a very interesting, dynamic, and unique geopolitical and technological environment. For example, over the last 3 years, we have witnessed the first war between two nation states, one of them a nuclear power, where full-spectrum cyberspace operations are actively shaping the battle space. The ongoing conflict in Ukraine has provided the world with real-time demonstration of how cyber warfare, electronic warfare, and AI-driven intelligence are redefining modern combat. Furthermore, the proliferation of small, inexpensive drones has underscored the power of asymmetric warfare, demonstrating how low-cost technologies can effectively challenge and disrupt even the most advanced military forces. China continues its aggressive pursuit of dominance, seeking to not only control the Indo-Pacific region, but to challenge the United States as the preeminent global power. This effort extends beyond military expansion in the South China Sea to strategic economic initiatives such as the Belt and Road Initiative, control over rare earth minerals, and technological supremacy in artificial intelligence. The competition for AI leadership between the US and China is heating up, with both nations recognizing the technology's pivotal role in economic vitality, military capability, and national security primacy. Iran remains relentless in its pursuit of nuclear capabilities while continuing its support of global terrorism. The October 7th Hamas attacks against Israel, funded, armed, and facilitated by Tehran, mark a significant escalation in the Middle East conflict, resulting in a war in Gaza and subsequently with Hezbollah in Lebanon, along with confrontations with other Iran-backed proxies. Despite suffering significant military setbacks, Iran continues to project power through asymmetric warfare, missile attacks, and even cyber operations. Their quest for a nuclear weapon will undoubtedly shape actions within the Middle East until their goal is realized or the threat of it is eliminated. North Korea, always seeking attention and leverage, has expanded some of its nuclear weapons program capabilities. Pyongyang has resumed ICBM tests, demonstrating advancements in solid fuel propulsion, and continues to develop hypersonic capabilities and improvements in their use of satellite-based intelligence. Additionally, North Korea's growing partnership with Russia, reportedly providing Moscow with munitions and manpower for the war in Ukraine, highlights an emerging axis of authoritarian states, North Korea, Iran, China, and Russia, aligned against Western interests. Meanwhile, Russia and China continue their coordinated efforts to undermine the dominance of the US dollar as the global reserve currency. The rise of alternative payment systems, such as China's cross-border interbank payment system, and increased use of the yuan in international trade, signal a broad strategy to weaken US economic influence. Additionally, global economic forecasts remain uncertain, with tensions in the Middle East, ongoing conflicts, trade negotiations, and disruption of supply chains contributing to a turbulent financial landscape. So what does all this mean? Well, I believe it is safe to say that the next year will bring challenges unlike any before, where AI-driven warfare, economic realignments, and shifting alliances will define the future of global stability. The question we must ask today is not how we respond to these threats, but how we proactively shape the world order and our security to face them. I could obviously go on, but the point is the world is, always has been, and will remain a messy and dynamic place. So the obvious question is, what can we, as academics, government representatives, and even members of the private sector, do to bring some security and order to the chaos? Well, at this year's summit, we will focus on the impact that AI is having in this dynamic global security environment, an environment in which the technology advancements in AI are changing everything from how we live, how long we live, and how we interact not just with each other, but with the very technology that we are creating. That said, our ultimate objective for the summit is not to have the next 2 days simply be a series of great conversations, intriguing speeches, and debates. At the Institute of National Security, we want these engagements to lead to tangible outcomes and actions, such as specific areas to further research, to focus investment opportunities, to change policy, or to improve the way we actually conduct national security. To allow all of you to participate directly in all of our discussions, you can submit questions for our speakers and panelists at the website you will see displayed at the bottom of the screen as we continue with our program. Additionally, to help us visualize the key concepts and themes from our conversations, we are proud to have an artist from Ink Factory here to create live visual notes. Lindsay, want to raise your hand? She will be synthesizing our words into images and text, and her work will be displayed on the left side of the ballroom throughout the next 2 days. So with that as our scene setter, it is my pleasure to introduce the host of our summit, an internationally renowned political scientist, management scholar, and visionary leader. Daniel Diermeier is Vanderbilt's 9th Chancellor. Since 2020, Chancellor Diermeier has led a number of ambitious initiatives to increase Vanderbilt's impact and reach, and to expand its global presence and reputation. A nationally recognized leader in free expression and civil discourse, he drives efforts to create a culture of radical collaboration, open dialogue, and personal growth that embraces wide-ranging points of view so that Vanderbilt students and faculty can realize their potential and lead in a complex and ever-changing environment. Before arriving at Vanderbilt, Chancellor Diermeier served in faculty and leadership roles at Stanford, Northwestern University, and the University of Chicago, where he served as Dean of the Harris School of Public Policy and later as Provost. Chancellor Diermeier is a Fellow of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences and the Guggenheim Foundation. He has written 5 books, with a 6th forthcoming, and more than 100 research articles in various fields, but mostly in fields of political science, economics, and management. Ladies and gentlemen, Vanderbilt University's Chancellor, Daniel Diermeier.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you, General Moore, for that kind introduction, and thank you all for being here. It's just delightful to see so many of you here joining us in Nashville and at Vanderbilt University. We're meeting here at Vanderbilt at a moment of profound transformation in the global security landscape. The pace of technological change is breathtaking. The complexity of today's threats is growing at an exponential rate, and the stakes have never been higher for stability, for security, for America's global leadership. That is one reason why we started this summit and why we're honored to host it again today. Today, I want to briefly share why this work matters so deeply to me, professionally and personally. But let me start with the larger landscape. Traditionally, national security meant protecting borders, to military power, strategic alliances, and deterrence. But the threats we face today don't always come with uniforms and missiles. They're often invisible, digital, and deeply complex. We now live in a world where cyber attacks can cripple hospitals, where fentanyl manufactured abroad kills tens of thousands of Americans every year, and where AI can be used to destabilize economies, disrupt militaries, or erode trust at scale. As we saw earlier this year, the release of a major Chinese large language model called DeepSeek was a sharp reminder that global AI competition is not merely possible, it is here now. And the winners of the AI race will not only shape markets, but international norms and global power structures. That is why this year's theme, AI and the future of national security, is so timely and so important. And that is why Vanderbilt is committed to being at the center of this work. At Vanderbilt, we believe America's leading research universities are essential to national security and global competitiveness. We conceived this conference in 2021 because we saw a gap. We recognized that universities could be more deeply engaged in national security and could bring much more of their unparalleled expertise and innovative capacity to bear on the threats to the nation. We also believe that Vanderbilt in particular was uniquely positioned to advance collaboration between universities and the national security community. So we moved some minor mountains. Remember, it was 2021 to quickly host the first summit in 2022. And we were fortunate to feature as our first keynote speaker, as a matter of fact, the very first speaker, General Paul Nakasone, who was then director of the National Security Agency and commander of US Cyber Control. That first year, the summit drew a little less than 100 attendees, validating our bet that Nashville could be a new hub for dialogue on national security. And having Lower Broadway close by didn't hurt us either, I think. So our second summit in 2023 drew twice as many people and featured more engagement by our remarkable faculty. It focused on cyber conflict, artificial intelligence, peer competition, and emerging threats. Summit 3 in 2024 featured some of the leading policymakers and military leaders and national security leaders and leaders from the private sector. Attendance grew dramatically, and feedback that year confirmed that Nashville and Vanderbilt had become the place for serious and meaningful national security conversations, a little bit away from the madness of the Beltway. As the summit grew in stature, we thought about how we could further capture Vanderbilt's unique energy and assets, namely our students' curiosity and drive, our faculty's diverse interdisciplinary expertise, and our singular culture of radical collaboration. That led us to create the Institute of National Security, our university's most ambitious step yet to serve the country at a time of profound change. Launched officially last fall, the Institute brings together experts across disciplines, from engineering and biomedicine to law and public policy, to prepare the next generation of national security leaders. The Institute is focused on 4 priorities: educating students and mid-career professionals to think critically, act ethically, and lead with technical fluency across disciplines; accelerating innovation and bring bold ideas to life with a distinct approach that combines the speed of Silicon Valley, the expertise of Washington, D.C., and the academic community right here in Nashville. Number 3, convening leaders. That's what we do right now, and practitioners like all of you in this room for bold, solutions-oriented dialogue. And finally, advising decision makers on the fast-changing landscape of national and global security. And in a nice bit of symmetry, a circular structure that we all love, last year we learned that General Nakasone was retiring. And so we knew immediately that he would be the perfect leader to bring the vision of the Institute to life. And happily, he was as excited about the prospect as we were. We asked engineering professor Doug Adams, who had worked closely with the military and defense communities in his academic research and innovation, to join General Nakasone in the Institute's leadership. And now here we are at Summit 4. In just 4 short years, the summit has become a must-attend event, oversubscribed and validated by national attention. This moment represents years of thoughtful work and strategic investment. And today, we here at Vanderbilt are proud to not just convene conversations, but with the summit and the institute in place, we are making a substantive contribution to the nation's security in this new age of technology. And now, if I may, I'd like to speak a little bit about why this work matters so much to me personally. As you may have detected from the accent, ever so slight as it is, I was born in Germany, in Berlin, the western part of a divided city, at the height of the Cold War, the location of many John le Carré novels. And as a child, I lived in the shadow of that conflict, literally in the shadow of the wall. I had family I couldn't visit until I was a teenager. Even driving through East Germany meant facing armed border guards, fences with minefields, and barking dogs. It was intimidating, and it left a mark. That environment made me think early about politics, power, and the fragility of freedom. I vividly remember the summer of 1989 when the Berlin Wall came down. I remember the speeches, the celebration, the music, the joy. I climbed on top of the wall myself. Not an easy feat. It's really high. And you may remember that people were chipping away at the time, so all these spikes were standing out, and as I was pulled up to the wall, I ripped my jacket, which was later stitched up, and was always a moment of pride. And I watched as the Brandenburg Gate opened right before our eyes. And all the border controls and the surly border guards suddenly were the nicest people you're ever going to meet. That experience showed me how much institutions, politics, and a commitment to freedom matter. How powerful the rules we live under affect the lives we're able to lead, and how much they must be sustained and defended. And it reinforced something in me that I now carry in my role as Chancellor. Universities like Vanderbilt are not just places of learning and innovation, they are pillars of a free society. They are one of the greatest sources of America's competitive strength. And at this moment, when security threats are evolving and when technology is changing everything, we need our universities to lean in, to educate, to convene, and to lead. That is what the summit represents. That is what the National Institute of Security, the Institute of National Security, is here to do, and that is what Vanderbilt is committed to, today and for the future. In a moment, you hear from somebody who stands at the forefront of the AI revolution. Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, is at the very center of one of the greatest technological transformations in human history. He will be introduced by General Nakasone, the founding director of the Institute, and a leader who intimately understands the intersection of national security and technology. We are honored to have both Sam Altman and General Nakasone here to begin this year's summit. And we are honored to have all of you as part of this essential conversation. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your partnership and presence. General Nakasone, over to you.